Welcome to a new lesson. In this lesson, we would explore and understand input-output formats. In the last lesson, we left at setInputFormat class and setOutputFormat class functions. Now let us understand the main idea behind the functions. Map gets its input in the form of keys and values. The data types of the keys and values are defined in mapper class definition. So Hadoop has to supply the key-value pairs as it reads the data from the file. Programmer controls this reading mechanism and key-value parsing by using setInputFormat class function. Similarly, when reducer emits the key-value pairs, then in that case, it is the setOutputFormat function which gives the programmer control over how it is to be written to the output file. Let us see various input formats and let us understand their basic mechanism so we can put it to use when required. The first is Combined File Input Format class. This is used in cases where many small files are needed to be combined as input. The problem with many files as input is that the advantage of data locality is lost. Combined File Input Format class usage preserves a little advantage. It has an internal inbuilt mechanism of considering the data locality, so it still performs good with many files. Although the case with many input files is not a good case for MapReduce from performance perspective and should always be avoided. Combined File Input Format is an abstract class and would be needed to be customized as per the scenario. Next we look at Text Input Format. Text Input Format supplies the map with key as long writable, which is the byte offset from the start of the file, and value as text line, which excludes any line terminator. This is the default input format. Next is the key value text input format. It is used in the case where the key is already present in the input file and key and value is separated by a delimiter. Delimiter by default is a tab character, but it can be customized through mapreduce.input.keyValueLineRecordReader.key.value.separator. Next is N-line input format. N-line input format divides the input into splits with fixed number of lines. So if n is 5, then every map would be distributed with 5 number of lines as input. Before we continue and look at sequence file input format, let us look at an interesting case that can occur. It can happen so that the input splits may cross over the HDFS block boundaries. For example, in this case, suppose split size ends at 5th record and the value of that record crosses over the boundary of the block and the other block is present on the another map machine. So in those cases, the portion of the record which is not locally present would be fetched from the network. This loss in data locality costs less than 1% of the overhead time. Now let us return back to our main topic and understand about the input formats. Next we look at is the sequence files. Let us first understand what sequence files are. Sequence file is a special flat file which contains binary encoded key value pairs. It would look like as shown and keys and values would be binary encoded. So these are special files and cannot be processed directly as text objects. These files have sync point mechanism and are compressible. Sequence files are mostly used in the scenarios where the output of a MapReduce job serves as the input to another MapReduce job. These are good with sorting as well. So the intermediate map results are written in sequence file formats so to provide ease of sort before the results are fed to reducer. So there are the following 3 format classes to process sequence files. First is sequence file input format. In this, the mapper and key value data type should match the file layout. Second is the sequence file as text input format. It converts the keys and values into text objects, and so both keys and values would be treated as text. Sequence file as binary input format fetches the whole record as an object and retains the binary encoding. Mappers should have the process to handle these. Now let us look at the output formats. The output formats decide how the data would be returned to the file. First data format is the text output format. This is the default output format as well. In this, the keys and values are converted to strings. The keys and the values are separated by the delimiter, which can be controlled using property mapreduce.output.textoutput_format.separator. By default, it is a tab character, and this is why we see keys and values separated by tabs in the outputs of the various runs we have. This can be set to any value by using configuration.set method. Sequence file output format, as we have already discussed, are binary encoded special files. These are helpful if the output of one job is to be fed to another MapReduce job. Map files are special sequence files with index lookups. First is the map file, which contains the data, and second is the index file, which is used to look up the data. Multiple output format is used in the scenarios where there are multiple outputs needed. It provides greater control over the output file names. We shall take a look at it and understand it with an example. In case you need a detailed documentations for these classes, you can find it on hadoop.apache.org/docs, which would be generally the first site when you search it on Google.